Hi everyone, and welcome to the long-awaited part 2 of my DA, where I'll be diving into the media representation of the Menendez Brothers case, audience fascination, and the ethical dissonance of it all. My DA has slightly changed since the first part, where today I'll be solely focusing on the Menendez Brothers and taking a deep dive not only into the case, but the storytelling surrounding it. The Menendez Brothers' crimes have been repurposed for a new generation. From YouTube podcasts like this one, to Netflix performances and renditions like the new series they got. Why then are we still fixated on this case? What is this saying about the media, our culture, and perhaps even us as the viewers? Why do audiences engage with tragic stories like this one for entertainment? And how do platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Netflix influence representation? Lyle and Eric Menendez killed their rich parents in Beverly Hills in 1989. Their trial was widely broadcasted across different medias, on television, news, all of that. It was quite emotional, making them into spectacles for the media. Their reason for killing their parents? Years of mistreatment, abuse. The prosecutors claimed it was for financial gain. But jump to now, and the Menendez Brothers case has resurfaced. Not from new case aspects, not from new leads, but their story has been rewritten, and the media is loving it. The case was dramatized on Netflix. They are portrayed as grieving icons on TikTok, and this is only one of many YouTube reanalysis videos out there. So why does a crime that was committed over 3 decades ago go viral again? The way that the story is told is just as important as the story itself. Now let's talk about media framing and representation as a part of Stuart Hall's theory, which will help us digest all of this information. Hall maintains that media is not the only way that meaning is created. Our perception is never neutral. It is purposeful, framed, and encoded with meaning. We'll look at the Netflix series. The brothers were painted as the victims, the main characters, showed their trauma and abuse with flashbacks, emotional music, all sorts of other things, to try and promote empathy from the audience, which is us. This is encoding, and it is deliberate. This plays a significant impact into a person's interpretation of the case as a whole. Hall adds, however the audience decipher meaning, according to their own cultural and psychological background, rather than passively absorbing it. Netflix's version is interpreted by some viewers as evidence of innocence. It is viewed as manipulation by many others. The series turns into a continuous text and concept that is mirrored in reception, text, audience, which investigates the ways in which media and audience co-create meaning. If we look at platforms like YouTube, where long-form podcasts like this one commentate on true crime and unpack it through careful consideration and discussions, not just dramatizations. According to John Fisk's idea of pop culture, audience create meaning rather than being passive recipients. We participate, we fight back, and we reinterpret. It is shown through many platforms, Netflix, YouTube, and TikTok, where users will use courtroom clips with emotional music to gain a reaction from the audience. What starts as journalism becomes a fandom. The media audience is no longer merely just people who watch. We are now participants. As Sue Holmes explains in The Media Audience, media narratives are created, reframed, and recirculated in ways which influence the public perception. This illustrates how interactive contemporary media culture is. From the original trial of the Menendez Brothers to the Netflix adaptation to viral TikTok edits, the Menendez Brothers' name is showing up in the media again. Even headlines like these ones: Kim Kardashian frees the Menendez Brothers, the Menendez Brothers resentencing for next week, and the Menendez Brothers saw hopes for release, begs the question of how much power does the media have in this case. Platform matters when it comes to Netflix, YouTube, and TikTok. They aren't just different mediums, they encode entirely different meaning and experiences. The emotional arc that comes with Netflix is linear. Critical thought and in-depth analysis made possible through YouTube, the same moment is transformed into an infinite scroll of 30-second edits on TikTok. But all platforms have one thing in common. They are governed by attention economies. They reward content that performs, not the content that is either ethical or accurate. As the UPI Newswire pointed out on a feature about media sensationalism, true crime sells because of fear and fascination are profitable, not because it promotes justice. Now this is where Baldrad's concept of hyperreality comes in. He argued that media can distort reality so much that it simulates the real thing. At this point, the Netflix version of the Menendez Brothers case becomes the definitive version for many, not the original trial footage, which was already highly televised and covered by the media. You begin to wonder how large of a role the media had on their sentencing. The crimes were horrific, and the sentencing should be fair without the input of the media. However, that wasn't the case for the brothers. The media dragged their name through the mud, all because of their claims of abuse at the time were never truly understood by the public or the courtroom. The DOAJ article on representation in media studies reminds us that media does more than tell stories. It shapes how societies perceive identities, power, and justice. When Netflix humanizes the Menendez brothers and TikTok edits their trauma, it raises big questions. Whose version of the story are we seeing? Who benefits from that version? And what do we as the audience do with it? Even this podcast isn't neutral. I'm making content, I'm editing the clips, I'm choosing what to include and what to leave out, which makes me a part of the cycle too. When you think of the Menendez brothers, what do you think of? Is it the real trial? Is it true crime podcasts or shows that you follow? Or is it the Netflix adaptation or the many, many TikToks that went viral from it? Whatever it might be, there is always more to the story, and we might never know the full extent of it all. When starting this DA, I originally had 3 cases I wanted to talk about, but I've since realised the case that had the most impact and influence by the media was the Menendez brothers, which helped me discover stories aren't just told, they are constructed. Audience don't watch, they interpret, and platforms don't just host, they shape what we see and how we see it. Every media, including TikTok, YouTube, and Netflix, introduces a type of distortion. The frightening thing is that these distortions eventually seem like reality. So what do we do with all of this? We need to start watching more critically. We need to start asking questions like, what is being represented? What is being left out? And how are we, as the viewers, participating in the narrative? True crime isn't just about what happened. It's about how it's being told. And the story says more about us than we might think. And that is all from me today. Thank you for watching and listening, and I'll see you in my next video.